What's going on? Welcome back to the ZHP Garage. Hope you guys are all doing well today. And today we're going to be doing a how-to video on how to replace the lower ball joints and the sway bar end links on a Ford Ranger. It's the same from 98 to 2012, which is the third generation style on the Ford Rangers. So if you have anything from 98 to 2012, it should be the same. So if you enjoy the content and if it is helpful to you, if you enjoy the content and if it is helpful to you, then please go down below, hit the like button, and also hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Show some support on the channel, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this right now.
What's going on YouTube? So we're working on this 2001 Ford Ranger. We're gonna be doing some ball joints and end links. You can see it's a little dry and clunky. One of the end links is missing, or missing the bushings. Obviously the ball joints are super dry, so we're gonna do it. So we're gonna jack it up and get started on this thing. I'm just gonna jack up the lower control arm. First I'm gonna break the lug nuts loose. Pop this cap off. Oh, I gotta get gloved up. I don't want to get Ford all over you. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. We're gonna break these lug nuts loose. Oh, they're tight too. All right, now we're gonna jack it up. Just set that aside. We're only doing lowers, but uppers are much better. So gotta take the knuckle loose. So we're gonna take the caliper off, put it aside. This end links are pretty decent on this side. It's the other side that the bushings are all gone on. Take your caliper off here. With 14 millimeter. Sometimes if you have a big lip on the rotor, it's kind of hard to slide the caliper off if the pads are in it. These are a floater, so it's okay. So just let the caliper hang. So we gotta take this bolt out of the upper. We have all the weight on the bottom control arm, so it's holding the knuckle together. So we can take this bolt out and nothing's gonna come apart because all the weight of the vehicle is still on the lower control arm. You wanna have your jack on the lower control arm, so when you take it apart, you can control it because the spring, you don't want it to fly apart. The shock's in there, but the shock can still break, and you want to have the vehicle supported on the lower control arm. So we'll take the upper bolt out. So this is a 15 millimeter. I'm gonna slide the bolt out. Might have to get your Ford tool out, a little persuasion. Kidding, I'm kidding. So then it'll come apart. And watch your speed sensor. You get a little screwdriver and you just pop these locks out. So this opens up here and you can release the harness. Get a little more slack in it. Now we need to get on the lower, there's a cotter pin. So you just use a pair of dikes to get the cotter pin out. Or a pair of pliers, but I like the dikes because you don't reuse this and it bites into it. You can get a good hold. You just straighten it out because you just bend it over and you just pull it out. So I just use a pair of dikes. So I just use a wrench on the lower. It's a 15/16, it's the size of this one. They kind of vary if they've been replaced or not before. But this one's a 15/16. The new ball joint comes with that, so we don't need that either. And then to get this off, you're gonna whack, you kind of gotta hold it up and hit the flat spot with a hammer. You can do it on either side, being that I'm right-handed. It's easier if I hit the front side. So you just get a pretty decent sized hammer. And it's best if you take the nut and don't take it all the way off. So when it comes loose, it doesn't go flying. So just put it on a couple threads so it doesn't just drop. Hold it up and then hit the flat side with the hammer until you'll see it drop down. See it fall? Now you gotta hold it, take the nut all the way off, let it chillax there a minute. We're gonna take this nut loose here. This little 8 to give this ABS wire a little more slack. So we're just gonna take this bolt out here, a little 8 millimeter. If you wanna get the whole assembly out of the way, you can take the outer tie rod out, but we're just gonna let it sit there. So you can see that the lower ball joint, definitely no good. You wanna use a pair of snap ring pliers on here to get this off. I don't currently have them with me, so I'm just gonna use a screwdriver or a pry bar. Small pry bar or screwdriver, you can just pop it up, you just kick it around. So now that we got it down to this point, now you need a ball joint press. So you can either rent one, you can go to the parts store or something and rent a press. We're gonna use the one that shoves it down. So I got my ball joint here. I had to put a Chevy part on the Ford to get it to last a little longer. I'm joking, calm down. So here's a new ball joint. Okay, it comes with the nut, a new clip, new C-clip, or snap ring, the cotter pin, a Zerk to lube it. See, the old one doesn't have a Zerk. It's probably why it failed. Never got lubed. So when you press this out, you got to press it from the top down. So you got to have a cup that's bigger than this outside, so it'll go inside when you press it down. So you need something like that. So when you push it down, it goes in there, pushes it out of the control arm. So we're going to use this cup. It's going to go on here. You see how it has a hole in the bottom? so it has room for the stud. There's one reason why you want to get a little higher, because when you put it in, it's going to go the other way, because you always want to be pressing it from the side with the threads. It has, you can do it the other way, but it has more pressing power if you're on the thread side. So put the cup up there, up against the control arm, and bring this down to the top of the ball joint. All right, just like that. Then you get, we're doing it by hand, so we're gonna show you how anybody can do it, other than, you know, you just gotta rent the tool. So you let it go and go up against the control arm so you don't have to hold it as you're going, and you just press it out. So get to the point, it'd be super hard, and then it's gonna pop. Sometimes it won't pop, sometimes it'll just start going. Super hard and it gets easier. Then you wanna catch your tool, because it's just gonna fall when the ball joint comes through, like so. Take your little cup off, pull it apart. There's our old ball joint. Look at that thing. Can't believe they drove it that long. So just give your control arm a little cleanup. And then now, when you get your new one, put it in, you want to push on this lip. So you need to get one that fits on here, but it's a bigger diameter here. So we need just a small one for up top. Then on the bottom, you need to be deeper. So something about like so. We need to flip the configuration on our press, because now we're going to be holding this cup. But see how the threads come down? You don't want to be pushing on the bottom of the joint. So we're going to take this bottom out, and we're going to put this one in here. Then we're going to have this guy, oh, not that guy. We're going to have this guy, has room, stud to come down, and it won't push on it. You got to open it up pretty good, because now it's so tall. You kind of want to straighten out your ball joint. You want it straight as possible. The stud sticks through a little bit. We got this little spacer, so we can clear the stud. Put the ball joint up in there. Put your little receiver cup. Tighten it up. So it's going to go the other way, because now we're tightening it, so it's going to swing around this way. So just let it go up against the control arm, and you can tighten it up. So we need to go up a little bit higher so we can make it. So we'll just jack it up a hair more. You'll feel it, it'll be going and going, and then it gets like super hard. That's when you know it bottoms out and it's in all the way. You want it, when it gets super hard, you still want to like cram on it a little bit. You want to make sure it's seated all the way down. Keep an eye on it, make sure it's going in straight. So I got a bigger bar. Make it a little bit easier for me. Really hard pressing in there. Get a little more leverage. Okay, now I just got to the point, it was getting easier, and then it got to the point right now that it just like pretty much stopped. Bottomed out. You want to give it a good cram. Right at the end, a good solid shove in there to make sure it's seated all the way down. Then you got it in. But if you're in question, you can always pull it down, check it out, and put it back on, press it some more. Ball joint installed. So then you want to put your new clip on. This thing is pretty much insurance. It doesn't really do anything because your joint's pressed in there, but this is just to make sure it doesn't do anything. I forgot my little snap ring pliers. You can just use a pry bar or a screwdriver. Probably use a screwdriver on this one. So you can just work it around. So start at one side. So if you don't have a pair of snap ring pliers, you just kind of expand it, push it down on there. Okay, you can spin it, make sure it's in the groove. So just use a little 10 millimeter, tighten it up. And you don't want to get too crazy on it because you can snap it off, but you want it in a direction that's easy to get to. So you probably want it in the front, because then when you're lubing this, you could lube in the other. You know, tie rod's kind of in the same direction. So put your Zerk in it, got it all set. So now we're gonna put it back up. So you take your get your new nut ready. Got to manhandle it. So you gotta pull it up on there, and you gotta hold it and start your nut. You can see the notches go to the bottom. So it's gonna go on like that. Start your nut. Okay. You can pull it up and spin your nut on really quick. So we set our top in. We're gonna wind up replacing these, just we don't have them right now. So we're just gonna put it back together. So we want to lube this bolt. It's good to lube this ball joint where it goes into the control arm. So when you do have to take it back apart, it actually comes apart. And then the bolt, it won't hurt to put a little on the bolt, just so nothing rusts up on you. And we're gonna push it down, then put the bolt back in, because it has a little, you see where it had the notch right here, that's where the bolt sits. That's what holds it together. So you gotta get it down all the way. So it lines up with the bolt, so it holds it all back together. So now we're gonna tighten up the bottom. You can use a wrench, 15/16, I think it's the same size. And you feel it bottom out, you know, get tight. So you wanna get it, you know, tighten it down, but then you don't wanna loosen it, so you need to see where you're at, and you wanna tighten it up to the point where the hole lines up with the notches. You see on this one, this is the hole I'm talking about right here. The hole that the cotter pin goes through. Then you have the notch in your nut. So this is what it's looking like. So when you put this nut on here, it's gonna be like so. So when you're tightening it up, you don't want to be like this. So you gotta tighten it to the point where you line up with the hole. So you could put the cotter pin through the hole. And that's what, you know, it's like a safety, it's like insurance. Make sure your nut doesn't come off and your front end doesn't fall apart. So that's what I'm lining up right now. So I got it to the point now where it's tight and it's lined up. So I'm gonna put the cotter pin in it right here. Okay, I normally put the longer part. It's kind of bent, so it's hard to tell, but the top, one side's longer. So I do it, I put the longer part on top, then you get your pair of dikes, and you grab the longer part, and I normally go all the way over with it, and I'll bend it down flat. Then the other one, I'll just take it straight up like that. And then that's, so if this piece breaks, this one will catch it from coming out and the nut working its way off. So now we got the bottom nut tight, we got the cotter pin in it, so we got to tighten up the top here. All right, so now we're gonna put our line back on. Little bolts, so don't get too crazy with it. Then put your lines back in your little clips. See how it's got the notch? It's got a notch right there. So let's line that back up. Put your caliper back in. If you wanted to, if you're worried about, you know, you disturbed it, you could put a little lube on your pistons and your caliper. Helps with the little brake noise. A little bit up here where the holds the brake pad down. Nothing crazy. Just remember, the more grease or whatever you put on this, the more dirt you're going to attract. So then you see how it has a flat spot on your caliper. Then your pins have a flat spot, so make sure that it doesn't rotate. You gotta line that up on the top and bottom. So put your caliper back in, make sure your line's not twisted. If your caliper gets rotated, you don't want to have a loop in your brake line. It's probably about 35 foot-pound probably if you want to torque it. Just do it by feel, I've done it so much. Okay, so we got a caliper on. So now we're gonna lube, we're gonna get our grease gun, we're gonna lube our new ball joint. So we're gonna grease our ball joint. So when you grease it, you don't wanna put so much grease in here that it winds up puking out from around the, well, normally this would be a rubber boot over the ball joint, but it's hard to see. You can see the boot. So when you grease it, you wanna watch it, and when the boot starts to swell, that's all the grease you wanna put in there. You don't wanna pump it up to the point that it's just oozing everywhere. So get on there, little Zerk, and then keep an eye on the boot, pump it until that boot starts to swell. Another way to kind of get an idea is like 10 full squirts with the handle is a pretty good indication, you know. Anything's better than nothing, but you don't want to get to the point that it's pushing the boot up and just puking everywhere. And then when you're done, get a rag or something and wipe off the Zerk. So next time you lube it, you're not shoving dirt into your new ball joint. Got the ball joint done. So now we're gonna do the sway bar end links. So next we're gonna replace the sway bar end links. This side's actually still all together, but once we get to the other side, it's missing some components. You always want to do it in a pair. So we're gonna do this side first. 16 millimeter is what this one is. So it's got a nut on the bottom. You're gonna hold the nut. You might have to take and let the control arm down because the sway bar pushing against the other side because the sway bar is trying to keep it level. So we're gonna lower the jack down because we have the jack stand there on the frame and let the control arm come down so they're both at the same rest point. See, then you can get your end link out. But see how this one's splitting, starting to come apart too. It was dying. So this one's a little different. This one has a sleeve. This one's kind of all together. You need to wind up like building it. So the nut's on the bottom. So the bolt's gonna go down. So you start it, and you gotta hold it as you go, and then the little like locator, sees nothing. So locator goes into the sway bar. So that's gonna go up into the sway bar. Then you need another washer. Then you need your spacer shim. Then you can slide the bolt down a little bit more. Get to the point where we're starting to poke through. Then you need another washer. And then you need another bushing, and the same thing. The locator goes to the control arm. Then you put your bolt the rest of the way through. Then on the bottom, so the locator goes up to the control arm. Then you have another washer and your nut. Then when you tighten these, you don't want to tighten it to the point that you just can't tighten it anymore. All you want to tighten it till this washer or the rubber is squishing out a little bit and pretty much even with the washer. So when you tighten it down, you don't want to just go till it won't go no more. You can watch it as it starts to squish all the rubbers out. We'll double check it when we get it leveled out because it might be pushing on one more than it needs to be. But so this side's done. So we're gonna put the wheel on it, lower it down, go to the other side, and I'll show you the messed up end link over there. So we got the other side taken apart. It's pretty much the same as the other side. I just want to mention that don't forget to torque your wheels when you put the wheels back on. Lug nut should be 100 foot-pounds on your torque. So we have this side apart. I just want to show you this ball joint's not quite as bad. It's got some movement in there. I mean, it's pretty floppy, but the other side was definitely worse. But this is the sway bar end link I was telling you about. See, all the bushings are just gone. So that's why we're replacing the end links. So we're gonna get this finished up. It's pretty much into the how-to, the video. Put some comments down, whatever. But that's how you change ball joints on a 2001 Ford Ranger.
Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video of us showing you how to replace the lower ball joints and also the sway bar end links on Ford Ranger, the third generation style Ford Ranger. So if you did, like I said in the beginning, hit the subscribe button, yada yada. You know the deal. So I will see you guys in the next video. Here's some things you can stay tuned here on the channel, and also some other videos that we have done. And that's about it. Have a good one. See you guys next time.